Hello, this is Britt Caswell with my next video on quadratics. I have now moved out of factoring and now we are talking about the overall idea of what quadratics are and how to utilize their graphs to model real-world scenarios. So what I have is I have a new graphic organizer called the Quadratics Big Picture. Looks like this. And on this Quadratics Big Picture, it kind of walks us through some basic ideas for quadratics. So to start out with, here in the center of the graphic organizer, there is the graph of a quadratic, and it has different portions of it labeled. Okay, there's the y-intercept, the vertex. Notice here they've reflected the y-intercept and found a fifth point. There's also these 2 points here, which are called zeros. They're also called x-intercepts and solutions. There's also this dotted line, which is the axis of symmetry. So those are all the important parts of a graph. Now, to the right of that, I have included the transformations that you can do. So it's really easy to tell where a graph will be if it's in vertex form. So there's some translations. So when it moves left, right, up, or down, there's stretches and compressions, or there's the direction that the parabola opens. So if you have your equation written in vertex form, which is this form here, it will make it a lot easier for you to tell what's happening in terms of transformations. So now quadratics have three main forms. There's standard form, factored form, and vertex form. Those three forms are written out here, and they all have their own little perks to them. So for example, standard form is really easy to find the y-intercept. Factored form, it's really easy to see the zeros right away. And then the vertex form, it's really easy to see where the vertex is. So each of these has their own perks, and we use them to help us find various parts of the quadratic. Now, each of these has steps as to how to graph it, but if you're more comfortable using one form over the other form, you can always convert from one form to the other form and then graph using that form. But I will be showing you in future videos how to graph with each form just as it is without having to convert. Now down here at the bottom of the big picture, I have how to solve. So remember, a solution is where the x-intercept is. So we have already covered factoring, which there's a huge amount to factoring. And because there's so much, a lot of people tend to not factor. They tend to go by way of completing the square of the quadratic formula. Completing the square is something that's done in standard form only, because if it's in factored form, you already know where your zeros are, and if it's in vertex form, the square is already completed for you. So completing the square is only from standard form. The quadratic formula is also from standard form. The a, b, and c values that you see are reflective of the a, b, and c values in the standard form here at the top. But what's nice about that is it tells us our discriminant, which we'll get into later, but that's how many times the parabola will cross the x-axis. So having it in standard form is really nice for that quadratic formula because it helps us to anticipate what our graph should look like. So that there is the quadratics big picture, which I'll be going through piece by piece in the following videos. And there we are. I hope this helps you guys to stay organized. Until next time.